COVID-19 virology fraud explained in 19 minutes. This is a strawberry. As an organism, it is made up of millions of tiny cells, proteins, tissues, and genetic materials that make up the organism as a whole, called a strawberry. Metaphorically, it can also represent a single human cell. When slit open, we can see all of the proteins, microbes, and parts within the cell that make up the entire cell as a whole. This particular strawberry is already dying because it has been picked from the nourishing vine that supplies it its life-giving oxygen, water, and minerals from the soil below. The only reason it is still alive is because it is surviving on the last oxygen, water, and minerals that its vine gave it before it was picked. Its days are numbered. The average adult human loses between 50 and 70 billion cells each day due to apoptosis, meaning the natural programmed death of old cells, plus millions of dying bacteria and microbes, and in the case of physical injury or a poisonous, acidic blood pH from stress, worry, poor diet, lack of oxygen, and environmental toxins, billions more cells can die from necrosis, or unnatural traumatic cell death. Our body's bacteria and microzyma eat all of this dead cell debris, and the body expels whatever they don't eat through the various excretory organs. Germs and bacteria are dead cell debris eaters. Viruses are nothing more than dead cell debris. Virologists observed in the late 1960s that when certain cells die either naturally or by being poisoned in a petri dish, the surface proteins morph into spike proteins, which they call virions, and the bulbous surface reminded them of the sun's solar corona or halo. So they named this a coronavirus, from the Latin corona, meaning crown or wreath. This is a cell. This is dead cell debris, or a virus. Cell, virus. This virus did not kill this cell. It was already dying of necrosis from the moment it was picked from the nourishing vine, and my fist gave it the finishing blow. This virus is neither harmful nor contagious. It is simply dead cell debris. Now, the internal bacteria inside of the cell start to grow and eat the dead cell debris. They do not come from the atmosphere. They come from inside of the dying cell. Germs, dead cell debris eaters. Just like the virus, these bacteria did not kill these strawberries and are not killing them right now. They were dying from the moment they were picked from the vine in both of these cases, and my fist finished the job in the case of the jelly virus on the right. Just like this bird did not kill this roadkill, the car that ran it over killed it. The bird is the metaphorical germ, eating the dead cell debris. Unfortunately, the early pioneers of virology like Virchow, Pasteur, Crook, and later Enders noticed that they always found these bacteria and germs in the tissue samples of people who had died or suffered from a disease, and they just assumed they must have been the cause of the disease since they were always there. They didn't yet notice the bacteria were coming from inside the dying cells themselves. No different than noticing the rooster crows just before the sun rises and assuming that rooster crowing must cause the sun to rise. The bogus germ theory of disease was born, and soon a multi-billion-dollar-a-year pharmaceutical industry arose, selling people endless snake oil, cold and flu medications, antibiotics, vaccinations, and surgical procedures to remove excretory organs in the name of protecting us from these harmless germs. Some virologists are brainwashed in their allopathic medical schools and just not clever people. Others know the truth and are just plain frauds, living off the cash cow. But here's what they are doing in a nutshell. They take a sample of sputum or snot, which is nothing more than the dead rotting flesh or cellular debris from the billions of human and bacteria cells that die every day inside our bodies and are being excreted by the lungs, as well as the other excretory organs, which is why we find the different viruses in the different excretory organs, like this smashed strawberry virus. Then they mix those cells in a petri dish tissue culture with the sick dying flesh and cells of monkey kidney tissue. Like this dying pineapple. And then add some other sick tissue, like cancerous alveolar A549 cells from human lungs with cancer. Then they add dying cells from sick calf and bovine. Just like this dying lettuce. And so, you're left with this genetic soup blend of all sorts of dying cellular debris and genetic material from various sources. Then, virologists starve that soup of random genetic human, bacterial, cow, monkey kidney, and lung cancer cells and tissue of all nutrients to kill and deteriorate them even faster, just like picking the strawberry off of its nourishing vine. And they poison it with known tissue-killing and deteriorating substances like gentamicin and amphotericin. And lo and behold, as the nutrient starvation and poisons deteriorate the cells, the internal bacteria arise to eat the debris, and the cell proteins dissolve into spike proteins with the corona crown-looking bubbles, and virologists say, "Oh my God, there it is, the virus. We can see it now." Virologists never see these spike proteins before they starve and poison the cells. So sometimes they even add a protein-dissolving enzyme, like trypsin, which doesn't dissolve the cell's protein coating evenly, and thus leaves the appearance of spike proteins, just like this artist can't chisel this piece of wood evenly all at one time. So there they are, plain as day under the microscope, spike proteins. This piece of wood must be a coronavirus. Virologists claim that the full genome sequence for one of these alleged viruses should be 30,000 nucleotide base pairs long. But how would they know? They have never once taken a snot sample, isolated a full genomic virus organism from it, nor have they ever done that by taking their usual genetic soup mix of human snot, monkey, cow, and lung cancer tissue that they've poisoned with enzymes and chemicals and isolated an actual virus organism out of that with a full 30,000 base pair sequence. Because they can't. Because there is no virus organism to isolate. A virus is just broken down partial fragments of cellular genetic material. Virus, dead cell debris. As virologist Stefan Lanka points out, when cells die, they are broken down into submicroscopic particles, some of which virologists arbitrarily, meaning for no scientific reason, label viruses. Dying cell, submicroscopic dead cell debris. Cell, submicroscopic dead cell debris. Since there is no 30,000 base pair long virus organism in broken down cellular subatomic particle debris, they have to design a fraudulent PCR test that is not looking for any such thing in your snot sample, but rather smaller broken down genetic fragment primer sequences of 18 to 300 base pairs long out of 30,000 that are found in nearly anything and everything, like 90 known human genetic sequences and 92 known animal and bacterial genetic sequences, which is why we see COVID-19 positive tests on kiwis, goats, birds, Coca-Cola, papaya, durians, apple juice, motor oil, Spanish river water, blueberries, and now tap water right out of the bathroom sink. Geneticists and bacteriologists both use the Sanger and Maxam Gilbert methods to isolate other smaller than cell-sized microparticles in organisms like bacteriophages, bacteria, and even tiny little exosomes to map out their entire full genetic sequences. But since viruses are fictional make-believe organisms, virologists have to invent a make-believe full genome in a computer, which they call an in silico genome, like this paper, in silico-based whole genome phylogenetic analysis of SARS-CoV-2. In silico means in a computer simulation, virtual reality, fabricated, make-believe, fictional, completely made up, or simply imaginary. You'd be understandably frightened if fireologists told you an in silico fire was raging down your street and heading towards your house, until you go outside and see there is no fire, because it is an imaginary, computer-simulated in silico fire. Just like COVID-19 is an in silico virus. Virologists took the genetic snot soup sample from a sick person in a Wuhan, China hospital with atypical pneumonia. They built an in silico COVID-19 virus genome in their computer using the BLAST tool, mixing the previously in silico made imaginary sequences of SARS, Wuhan Hu1, and bat coronavirus RATG13, and then they told the computer to rearrange that sick person's genetic snot soup sample until it matched the new SARS-CoV-2 sequence their computer made up. If you wanted to, you could tell the BLAST tool to put in the genetic sequence of a banana, and the computer would rearrange anybody's genetic snot soup fragments until they matched a full banana genome. Since no two people on Earth have the same exact genetic fragments floating around in their snot, every time you tell the computer to rearrange someone's snot into the made-up in silico COVID-19 genome template, the computer will have to do it slightly differently than the original Wuhan person, making errors and having to fill in the blanks along the way. And they call this virus mutations, showing us brainwashed imbeciles wearing hazmat suits to protect them from an in silico computer glitch, variations or mutated strains, and scare you into taking endless injections each year to protect you from the newest deadly make-believe in silico mutation. Selling people fire insurance for make-believe fires. Ask yourself this: would you inject yourself with your grandma's old rotting kidney tissue to make you immune from catching her old age? Would you inject yourself with a teenager's pus-filled acne to make you immune from catching his acne? Then why would you inject yourself with chemically poisoned rotting flesh from sick dying monkey kidneys and sick cows, as well as somebody's lung cancer cells, to make you immune from poisoning your own cells to death through your own lifestyle choices, diet, stressful mindset, and environmental toxins? Because that injection is exactly what a vaccine is. But you have a live virus vaccine, you say. Sure, viruses are dead cell debris, not living cell debris. So not only did they inject you with starved and poisoned to death rotting human cancer cells, dead rotting cow cells, and dead rotting chimpanzee kidney cells, like this AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine insert shows, but they also mixed that dead rotting flesh with the dying but still slightly alive tissue of a genetically modified human fetus's embryonic kidney tissue. And now you have a live virus in you as well. Why not just cut out the middleman and start eating dead babies for health? Now, some people might be appalled by that statement, yet remarkably are not appalled by walking out of a clinic with a sticker on their shirt that proudly says, "I just injected aborted fetal kidney tissue into my bloodstream for no beneficial reason." What's the difference? As Dr. Tom Cowan says, instead of discussing how dangerous and ineffective vaccines are, we need to discuss how bacteria and viruses have never been proven to cause any disease. And as virologist Stefan Lanka says, anyone who closely analyzes what virologists actually do in the laboratory to prove that these particles they call viruses cause disease will easily see the absurdity of their conclusions. And here's what the general public is not being told. The New York State Health Department did an elaborate polio study and did not nor could not make even just one person or animal sick by either close contact with polio sufferers or injection of their mucus. The United States Public Health Service did the same extensive experiments and also could not successfully make even one person sick. Other experiments done at the time swabbed the mouths and throats of prisoners and orphans with the mucus of people sick with polio and could not make a single person sick. All three extensive studies concluded polio was not contagious. During the 1918 Spanish flu, Dr. Milton Rosenau and the U.S. Public Health Service tried close contact, breathing, intimate contact, casual contact, injection of mucus into the bloodstream, and even rubbing swabs from sick people directly into the eyes of hundreds of healthy people. In not one instance could they even make just one person sick. The Spanish flu was also not contagious. They even tried it with horses and could not make one single horse sick. You can learn about the real causes of that pandemic in the last 20 minutes of the film Biochemistry Debunks Corona. Dr. Fraser of Canada and Dr. Powell of California have experimented with billions of germs, bacteria, and all varieties, but they have been unable to produce a single disease by the introduction of germs into human subjects. Not one. Dr. Waite tried for years to prove the germ theory, but could not do so. Germs are neither harmful nor contagious. From 1933 to the present day, virologists have been unable to present any experimental study proving that influenza spreads through normal contact between people, even injection. All attempts to do so have met with failure. That is why they have to call it germ theory and cannot call it germ fact. You are now immune forever from COVID-19 and all other contagious viruses because you cannot catch something that does not exist.